Yo, welcome back to the channel. In this video today, we're going over a tanking setup on the Stamina Necro that could be really used for any starting out tanks. Maybe you just hit 160, or maybe you just don't have the time to really farm all that gear, all the dungeon gear and stuff like that, and you just want a quick build that will allow you to get in and tank when you need to, do what you need to, and then go about your day. So this build on PS4, PS5, NA will run you around 20k. On the other platforms, it might be less, it might be a little more. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Max Magic is 21.7. Maximum health is 48.3. Max stamina is 23.1. Magic recovery unbuffed is 1.4. Physical and spell resistance are both 22.5 unbuffed. Now, I'm an Imperial, so just adjust your points accordingly to where you feel more comfortable. Try to keep your stamina above, at least on your front bar, try to keep your stamina above your magicka. So, I have 35 points in the magicka, 29 in the stamina, and the boon I'm running is the Atro. This is to help us with magic recovery. Now, buffed, well, not fully buffed, but buffed enough. We're looking at 1.9k magic recovery, 28.4 spell and physical resistance. Now, with the monster set that we have, when that procs, we will be around 31k. So we're good on resistances. So now, champion points. Green Tree, passives, Gilded Fingers, Fortune Favors, Steadfast Enchantment is definitely one you need to focus on most as a tank or whatever. Tank, DPS, whatever. Your weapon enchantments, they have a 50%. They decay. Those enchantments on decay over 50%. This is really nice to have, so no more lag when you're in the middle of a fight from the weapon going uncharged. Now, for things that you put on your bar, I use Treasure Hunter because it's always good to have this on your bar when you find a treasure chest, get better quality items. Just self-explanatory. Master Gatherer, Plentiful Harvest, just because I like to run around and gather nodes in between questing and stuff like that. So these two, they cut down my harvesting time and gives me a chance to get double the nodes. So, and then the last one, Liquid Efficiency. Whenever you use a potion or poison, you have a 10% chance to not consume it. So, now the blue tree, passive. I have 20 into Blessed just to increase my healing done. 20 into Eldritch Insight. 20 into Tireless Discipline. 20 into Quick Recovery. 20 into Hardy. 20 into Preparation. And 20 into Elemental Aegis. Those are the only passives that you really need to worry about as a tank. And then when it comes to things to actually use, I use Unassassinable, Duelist Rebuff, Bulwark, and Reinforce. Now, I switch these three out depending on what we're doing. If I'm taking more damage over time attacks from a certain boss or whatever, or in a certain dungeon, then I'm going to have this on. I'll replace it with ever single target attacks or AoE attacks. I mean, it just all varies. This, you absolutely have nothing to worry about. As I was putting points into the other stuff, this just kind of auto-filled, and I didn't catch it. So this, don't worry about. Don't really need that as a tank. So, but these over here. Now, Red Tree for the passives. 20 in Defiance, 30 into Tumbling. I have 37 here into Mystic Tenacity. This will eventually be 50. 20 into Hero's Vigor, 16 into Hasty, 20 into Sprinter, 30 into Fortification, 20 into Tireless Guardian, 6 into Nimble Protector, 30 into Savage Defense. Now, you don't really have to worry about this one, but I like it once you get the extra points. Of course, you'll put the 10 there. And then 50 into Tempered Soul. Just in case you get caught sleeping and you get put down, at least this way when you get rest, you'll come up with more resources instead of nothing. So, it's just nice to have. Now, for skills on my bar, I use Bloody Renewal. Just gives me 1500 stamina back when we kill an enemy. Rejuvenation gives me 150 health, magic, and stamina recovery. Ironclad, which gives me 1.7 armor. And Balanced Vitality, which gives me another 1400 max health. So, we get plenty of max health between that, which is 560, and then this one, so we get an extra 2k health, pretty much. So, sets. The first set that you can focus on is Plague Doctor. This comes from Deshaun. These pieces are super cheap, and they're not necessarily bad for starting out tanking or just tanking in general. Now, it is more of a selfish set, but that's okay. I mean, if you're just starting, or you have that old foundation that a tank is supposed to just be a meat shield, this works for you. You don't have to worry about all the debuffing, all them sets. Get your Plague Doctor, you'll be okay. I would recommend getting Plague Doctor first before this other set, just due to what it is. Now, me, I'm running an infused chest with max health and infused legs with max health. You want infused on the big pieces, or sturdy with max health, or tri-stack glyph, whatever. But the cheapest would just take it with max health, because that's what it comes with. Now, what Plague Doctor does, well, we also run jewelry, all with magic recovery glyphs on it. Now, what this set does, it gives us max health, max health, max health, and more max health. That's it. It's been around for a while. It comes into Sean. The jewelry might run you 2 to 5k a piece, even for purple. The jewelry is not that expensive, not at all, because it's not a set that a lot of people run now, or most of the people that would run it already have it. So it's extremely cheap. Just shop around, you can find it. Now, the reason why I say get these 2 body pieces first is because of the fact of the next set. The next 5-piece set is a crafted set, and we're running Turok's Pact. Now we're running it boots, sturdy, hands and waist, all sturdy, all with max health. And then we're running it on our sword and board and ice staff back bar. The weapons infused shield is infused as well, which this can also be sturdy if you want it to. It could be sturdy or infused. Now you don't necessarily need reinforced, but if you want to go for if you do want to push that cap on resistance, you can always make it reinforced. Now what Turok's Pact does, this is a crafted set. It's a 3-trait crafted set, so it is very easy to get. It's very easy to have somebody craft this for you. If you have a guildmate or something like that, they more likely will craft it for you. You can throw them a tip, throw them resources, or throw them the materials. Doesn't matter, but either way, this should be extremely easy to get, especially if you're in a guild. And if you're by yourself, as long as you've got 3 traits researched throughout all this, you can craft it yourself. Now, what this does, it gives us armor, max health, armor, and it decreases the weapon enchantment cooldown by 33% and increases non-oblivion damage, weapon enchant potency by 45%. So, our weaken enchant, I think it goes up to 314, which is normally like 274 or something like that, or 271. So it makes them weaker a lot. And then on our back bar, we have a crusher enchant where the resistance is normally, even with infused, it's like 2,000 or something, low 2,000. Now it's 2.7. So just increases the quality of this stuff. Now, monster set, blood spawn. We're running light infused on the helmet with max health and medium shoulder sturdy with max health. This gives us stamina recovery, which kind of works. We're on an ice staff. It'll give us our stamina back if we're blocking on an ice staff, but it's not really needed that well. But when you take damage, you have a 6% chance to generate 13 ultimate, increase your physical and spell resistance by 3.6 for 5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds. So this is going to push us up to that cap right there up under the physical and spell resistance. But it's also one of the more easier monster sets to get. This comes from Spindle Clutch 2. Very easy dungeon to go through, very easy dungeon to do. So, again, Plague Doctor, Deshaun, extremely cheap. Find the pieces first. You don't have to have exactly the setup. You can get a sturdy waist or sturdy hand of Plague Doctor, or infused legs and boots sturdy of Plague Doctor. But jewelry, you want those, and then the other 2 pieces can be whatever on the body, except for head and shoulders. And then once you get that done, you just find a guildmate or a friend on your friends list, or find somebody that is willing to craft you Turok's Pact, which is extremely easy, or you craft it yourself. And there you go. You have a easy to get, very easy to obtain tanking set. Blood spawn. You might not necessarily have to have these full pieces, because you could go 1 piece. Some other sets, like Chokethorn for magic recovery, Mighty Chudan, Lord Warden, whatever out of them chests that you can get to just round it out. You don't necessarily have to have blood spawn, but if you want to run a full set, blood spawn is probably the easier one to get out of them. So, sets, or not sets, but skills. Pierce armor. We're going to use this. It's going to make the enemy a taunt. It's going to taunt the enemy and make them attack us for 15 seconds. It's also going to apply minor breach and major breach to the enemy, reducing their physical and spell resistance by 2.9 and 5.9 for 15 seconds. Heroic Slash, it's going to affect them with minor maim, reducing their damage done by 5%, and we gain minor heroism, granting us one ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 12 seconds. So, Agony of Totem, summon an effigy of bone at your feet for 13 seconds. It grants minor protection to you and your allies, reducing damage taken by 5%. After 2 seconds, Totem begins fearing nearby enemies every 2 seconds, causing them to cower in place for 4 seconds. Allies can activate the Pure Agony synergy, causing enemies to take 5.3k magic damage over 5 seconds and applying minor vulnerability to them, increasing their damage taken by 5%. So, we get minor protection from this, and we affect the enemies with minor vulnerability. That's why we use it. Not only that, this right here is going to give minor maim, especially if it's a single target. So, Necrotic Potency, sap the lingering life from fresh corpses, granting you 6 ultimate, healing 2.1k health every 1 second for 2 seconds per additional corpse. Ability scales off your max health. This is why I like Plague Doctor on the Necro, but you can really use it. You can use the setup on anything, but health sets definitely work better on the Necro. While slaughter, your damage taken is reduced by 3%. Spirit Guardian, conjure a ghostly spirit to do your bidding and stay by your side for 16 seconds. The spirit heals you or the lowest health ally around you every 2 seconds, restoring 2.7k health. While active, 10% of the damage you take is transferred to the spirit instead, creates a corpse on death. And then just in case the group gets wiped for whatever reason, renewing animation, bring your allies back from the brink of death, resurrecting up to 3 allies at the target location. You restore 5.1k magicka and stamina for each ally you attempt to resurrect. Honestly, I've used this in quite a bit. One of the main ones at Blessed Crucible, doing vet. For some reason why, there's always one person that gets taken out by that fire when the final boss slams its staff or sword down. I don't know why. It just almost always happens. Sometimes I'm extremely unlucky and 3 of my allies, or my randoms, they all get hit. I don't know why. It just happens. So I started using this. Before this, if you want to go more selfish, you can use the Bone Goliath transformation. It just gives you more health. This gives you an AoE bash attack. This gain an aura that drains nearby enemies of their health. I would go with Ravenous Goliath if you kind of want to just stay alive as a tank. But if you want to deal some damage, go Pummeling Goliath. Now, what this does is that it increases your max health by 30,000 for 20 seconds, and you immediately restore 30,000 health, while transform your damage slide attacks restore 985 health, and your fully charged heavy attacks restore 2.4k health. You deal 2.7k magic damage to nearby enemies every second, heal for that amount. This ability scales off your max health. So this is really good if you got a ton of ads, and for whatever reason, you know, you're I guess, god pooling, I guess, more or less. This will help you stay up if you want to use it, but I found myself using that less and less and needing this more and more, so I just kind of made the switch to it. So now, back bar, Inner Rage. This is our ranged taunt. We're basically on taunt and maybe make them come to us, or if they won't come to us, then we're going to use Silver Leash. Basically, we fire this at them and they pull tours. If you don't have this, it's not that big of a deal. It comes from Fighters Guild. It is kind of it should be a pretty early Fighters Guild ability, I believe. Let me see. Let me make sure. But I believe it is a pretty early Fighters Guild ability. Yeah, it's the very first one you get, so you should get it relatively quickly. So, and as you can see, not all my skills are set up properly. Blockade of Frost. Slam your staff down to create an ice barrier in front of you, dealing, well, the damage isn't necessarily that important. Mostly when we use it, we get a shield that absorbs 12.4k damage from projectiles. Shielded enemies become frozen or immobilized for 4 seconds. That's it. It's basically just there to make sure our Crusher enchant stays on the target. That's it. So every time this falls off, it kicks right back up as long as it's there. So plus with that going, we can also, you'll see the weakening enchant from the Crusher enchant. So it just works out wonderfully. So we have both of them going. So Empowering Grasp. Summon 3 patches of skeletal claws from the ground in front of you. Enemies in the first area are snared by 30% for 5 seconds, immobilized in the second area for 4 seconds, and stunned in the final area for 3 seconds. Each area applies minor maim to enemies, empower to your allies, and enhance the damage and healing of your skeleton mage and spirit mender by 40%. Each effects last 5 seconds. So basically, they're light attacks that. Okay, so minor maim to the enemies. Basically, they're going to take 5% reduced damage. We have that on this, but you're really not going to. I mean, you can still use this in single target fights too. It's not that big of a deal, but you want to make sure you're using this, even though it's going to apply, both going to apply minor maim. At least this way, you get minor heroism with this, so it is nice to use. Empowering, it's just going to make the light attacks of our allies stronger, and then the healing from our spirit mender, which is this ability, is going to be stronger. I know it's called Spirit Guardian, but it's a morph of Spirit Mender. So it's why we like to. It's why we have this. Is why we use this. It does 3 things, and it's pretty easy to use. So Beckoning Armor, wrap yourself in hardened bone, grant you major resolve, increase your physical and spell resistance by 5.9 for 20 seconds. While active, enemies that strike you with ranged attacks will be pulled toward you once every 3 seconds. Now, this is a good ability. It works like chains. So if you don't have this, it's not a big deal. This will chain them in, but I found myself the chains just getting on my nerves. Sometimes it doesn't always pull the one you want to you. Sometimes it'll just pull that little the melee that backs up to throw that little shuriken at you, or the whatever they throw at you, and then it pulls them to you and leaves the fire mage over there. And then there's kind of like a little second before it will pull the other one to you. Silver Release, you can just point and pull. It doesn't take much. Also, I use it not necessarily so much for the pull, but for the major resolve. For the major resolve to increase my physical and spell resistance. Honestly, it's just me. I like to use Chudan on the Necro. It gives me armor, max health, and it gives me major resolve at all times. So, and then I'll drop this ability for something like Vigor, or Orbs, or just whatever. You know, if I want to sustain, I'll use the tether that gives me magicka or stamina, whichever one. So, but to make it really simple, Chudan comes from Ruins of Mazatoon. Ruins of Mazatoon can be relatively difficult to get through on Vet with a Pug. So we're just going with Beckoning Armor to give us that major resolve. So plus the chain is decent. And then finally, Aggressive Warhorn. Sound a Warhorn to rally your forces. Increase you and your group's max magicka and max stamina by 10% for 30 seconds. You and your allies gain major force. Increase your critical damage by 20%. This is the ultimate you're going to use the most. The only time you're going to use this ultimate is if your group goes down. I tend to hold it unless 2 people go down. If 2 people go down, then I tend to use it. If it's just one person, then I'll leave it to the others and just save my ultimate for my Warhorn. So, plus this one takes 314 ultimate to use. This takes 235. So, this might go up as it ranks up. I'm not 100% sure on that. The cost might go down as it ranks up, but as I know, Aggressive Warhorn is 235. So, but so basically with Necroponents and stuff, you'll have these on. Give it a second here. We'll let them fall off, and you'll see kind of what Necroponents does. As you see, that they'll hang around, they'll heal, they'll take the damage for you, and then when they die, you'll see a corpse. Very similar to Repentance, except the Necros is blue, and then you just hit Necros and you'll absorb. As you can see, it gives you ultimate, and it will heal you. So, and you use it more than once. So, ooh. But this is a very easy setup to get. It's a very easy tanking setup to acquire. However you want to say it. Like I said, this is a 3-trait crafter. This costs a Spindle Clutch 2. This is Deshaun, very cheap. Make sure you get your Plague Doctor pieces before you craft your gear, because you don't want to craft your Turok stuff and then find out that you found Plague Doctor gloves 30 for 1k when you could have just bought that instead of buying the 5k boots. You know what I mean? So either way, it's extremely cheap. It's extremely affordable, and that's just kind of what I like. So this is my kind of beginner tanking setup. If you like it, let me know in the comment section. If you hate it, let me know that too. So until next time, take care.